Sarah Breedlove was born in 1867 in Delta, Louisiana. She would later become known as Madam C.J. Walker, who would earn the distinction of becoming America's first female self-made millionaire. Walker, an African-American entrepreneur, made her fortune by developing and marketing a line of beauty and hair products for Black women through Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company right here in Indianapolis. She was so successful at business that she became an activist and philanthropist, making donations to numerous organizations, as well as becoming a patron of the arts. Villa Luaro, Madam C.J. Walker's lavish estate in Irvington on the Hudson in New York, served as a social gathering place for the African-American community. Ida B. Wells, born in 1862 in Holly Springs, Mississippi, was an African-American investigative journalist, educator, and early leader in the civil rights movement. She was one of the founders of the National Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. Wells arguably became the most famous Black woman in America during a life that was centered on combating prejudice and violence. After the devastating loss of most of her family to the yellow fever epidemic in 1878, Wells moved to Memphis, Tennessee, where she found better pay as a teacher. Soon, she co-owned a newspaper, the Memphis Free Speech and Headlight. In the 1890s, Wells documented lynchings in the United States, with reporting that carried nationwide in Black newspapers. After continuing threats, she moved to Chicago, where she married and became Ida B. Wells Barnett. For the remainder of her life, Ida B. Wells continued her work writing, speaking, and organizing for civil rights. Fannie Lou Hamer, born in 1917 in Montgomery County, Mississippi, was an American voting and women's rights activist, community organizer, and a leader in the civil rights movement. She was the co-founder and vice chair of the Freedom Democratic Party, which she represented at the 1964 Democratic National Convention. Hamer also organized Mississippi's Freedom Summer, along with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC. She was co-founder of the Women's Political Caucus, an organization created to recruit, train, and support women of all races who wish to seek election to government office. Hamer began civil rights activism in 1962, continuing until her health declined years later. She encouraged thousands to register to vote and helped hundreds of disenfranchised people in her area through her work in programs like Freedom Farm Cooperative. When she transitioned in 1977, U.S. Ambassador to the UN Andrew Young delivered her eulogy. Fannie Lou Hamer was posthumously inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1993. Rosa Parks, born in 1913 as Rosa Louise McCauley in Tuskegee, Alabama, was best known for her pivotal role in the Montgomery bus boycott. The U.S. Congress has called her the First Lady of Civil Rights and the mother of the freedom movement. Parks' act of defiance to obey the bus driver's order to give up her seat in the colored section to a white passenger was the catalyst to the Montgomery bus boycott, making her an international icon of resistance to racial segregation. She organized and collaborated with civil rights leaders, including Dr. Martin Luther King, a new minister in Montgomery who was gaining national prominence in the movement. Although widely honored in later years, Parks also suffered death threats, which led to her move to Detroit. There, she served as secretary and receptionist to the Honorable John Conyers, representative to the U.S. Congress. After her retirement, Parks wrote her autobiography, insisting that the struggle was not over. In her lifetime, Rosa Parks earned the NAACP's Spingarn Medal in 1979, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the Congressional Gold Medal, and a posthumous statue in the U.S. Capitol's National Statuary Hall. Katherine Johnson, born in 1918 as Katherine Coleman in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. During her 35-year career at NASA and its predecessor, she earned a reputation for mastering complex manual calculations and helped the space agency pioneer the use of computers to perform the task. Johnson's work included calculating trajectories and launching windows and emergency return paths for Project Mercury space flights, including those of astronauts Alan Shepard, the first American in space, and John Glenn, the first American in orbit, and rendezvous paths for the Apollo lunar and command module on flights to the moon. Her calculations were also essential to the beginning of the Space Shuttle program. In 2015, President Barack Obama awarded Katherine Johnson the Presidential Medal of Freedom.